Can't go wrong.
Right then. Good evening everybody and welcome to this evening's Development Management Committee meeting. We are going to run through the agenda items as listed in your papers, starting with apologies for absence. Do we have any apologies?
I thought Class 2, yeah. Has Guy put his apologies in?
So we've got Tony Woods, Maggie Holcote, Clive Suter,
Yeah, it's already
and
done.
Stephen Monarter.
Lovely, thank you. And we have no substitutions tonight. So moving on to item 2 on the agenda, are there any declarations of interest?
I'm item 9, Lister House and Ward Councillor.
7 and 8, Ward Councillor. Same applies to me. 7 and 8. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
I'm a patient at Lister House. Well, I thought it was better to declare it than not.
Yeah, declare it. No, it's relevant. It's not there anymore. But yes, thank you. And item 3, the minutes which appear at pages 3 to 5 of your agendas. Are they agreed? Any matters arising? Written questions, we've had none. Item 6 on your agenda is the procedure for tonight's meeting. We're going to start by, on each item, the planning officer will present his report. We will then move on to speakers. Speakers need to have registered at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. There are a maximum of 3 speakers against and a maximum of 3 for an application, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Following that, councillors are also invited to speak should they wish to. That's councillors that aren't on the planning committee. Following that, comments are then invited from the applicant or agent for a maximum of 3 minutes. Again, they would need to have registered beforehand. Following that, the public are then asked to remain silent for the rest of that agenda item. Councillors will seek questions and clarifications of topics that have been raised, and officers will respond. Following the questions, councillors will debate and come to a decision on each planning application. Okay, if we can move to item 7 on the agenda, that is number 3, Watlington Road. If I could ask Mark to make the presentation, please.
Thank you. This application seeks planning permission for a new dwelling in the garden at 3 Watlington Road. The site is shown starred on this slide. The site is located within the conservation area, as are the other properties shown here along Watlington Road. The plot for the proposed dwelling is shown in red, and the proposed curtilage of number 3 is shown in blue. And here are photos from the front of the site and the garden on which the proposed dwelling would be located. This slide shows that parking would be provided in the front garden in accordance with the parking standards. It also shows that the majority of trees will be retained. The 5 trees to be lost are shown in the inset. They would be of low quality and mainly removed to facilitate access into the site. The council's arborist has no objection to this limited loss, and an arboricultural method statement condition has been recommended to ensure the retained trees will be protected. The application has been amended since submission to reflect comments from Essex County Council's Historic Buildings Consultant, and this slide shows the proposed street scene at the top and the existing street scene at the bottom. It's considered that the proposed scale and plot width would be compatible with the other properties in the area. The elevations would also be reflective of other houses in the area, such as the prominent front gable at number 3. Subject to a number of conditions to control the detailed design of the dwelling, including requiring samples of materials and details of fenestration to be approved, the proposal would be acceptable in character and appearance terms. proposed house and the dwelling at 1 Watlington Road would be 6.5 metres apart, which is increasing as the proposal was first submitted. So the side elevation of Watlington Road is on the left photograph there. There would be some loss of light to windows in number 1. However, the windows serve a kitchen and utility room at ground floor and the bathroom at first floor. And as the windows are not related to habitable rooms, refusal for loss of light would not be justified. In addition, the right to light is a civil matter, not a planning matter, and therefore cannot be taken into account in determining this application. The application is therefore recommended for approval, subject to the conditions and informatives as set out at pages 12 to 14 of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have 2 speakers on this item, so could I call Mr. Bristow to come forward, please? I'd like to take a seat, Mr. Bristow.
Can I come with him because I'm deaf?
Of course you can, yes.
I can't hear from there. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
If you turn your microphone on, there's a button on the right-hand side.
Right side, yeah.
That's it. And then if you take a seat
Can I
and
sit this or do you want it?
I'm okay. Sit down.
and you'll have 3 minutes to make your presentation.
Mr Chairman, members of the committee, let me thank you for allowing me to speak on this occasion. My name is Derek Bristow. As you just realised, I live at number 1 Watlington Road. We are the owners, occupiers, and we're obviously the people most affected by this planning application. In essence, we're not objecting to a house being built on this plot. What we're objecting to is the position in which it is planned to be built. This will have effects on our rights of light, which the planner has already said is a civil matter. But we've lived in this house for 35 years, and we've had open aspect on both sides of our house, and we've enjoyed natural light, obviously, from the side of number 3. When this first came into notice that planning was being applied for, we took the initiative to go and visit the Mr. and Mrs. Warren, and we sat down with them and we said, look, we don't object to you building, we object to where you want to put your house. And basically we offered an alternative whereby the house could be put further back into the plot so that it wouldn't be immediately adjacent to our own dwelling. There is precedence in Watlington Road. There are relatively new houses, numbers 11 and 15, which were built adjacent to older and existing houses. These houses have been set back, as I wished in the case of number 3. We're unable to ascertain whether that was due to planning consent or due to matters in respect of rights of light. This clearly can't be a coincidence that in 2 separate occasions houses have been built back from the adjacent position of the existing house. I would ask the committee to be pragmatic on this, in that we obviously have civil matters in respect of our rights of light. It would seem prudent to me that the committee could stay consent on this application until these matters are either resolved or we create an initiative between our neighbour and ourselves that we can come to a compromise. Members of the committee, we both suffer from eye defects which require a maximum amount of light in order to do specific details. We were quite upset that despite our approach to the applicant, that they refused to entertain our suggestion. And
Could I ask you to wrap up, please, Mr.
sorry?
Could I ask you to wrap up, please?
Yeah, certainly. We'll let you wrap up, that's it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank
If you could take a seat. Thank you.
See that, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ian Abrams, would you like to come forward?
Thank you.
Mr Abrams, you have 3 minutes to make your presentation.
Good evening, my name is Ian Abrams, I'm the architect for this project. Plan application for a new house on this site was submitted in October last year. As noted in your officer's report, the application has been amended twice following discussions with your planning and conservation officers. The scheme before you has been substantially reduced in scale, including some of the following changes: removal of the basement, reduction in the scale and massing, reduction of the scale of the front gable wing, the amendment of the chimney stack design, the reduction in the width of the property, increasing the gaps between the two adjacent properties, and casement window proportions were amended to suit those in the conservation area. The scheme before you has the approval of both of your planning and conservation officers. There were concerns from your conservation officer, and it's noted in the report, that the front gable should be located to the left-hand side of the plot to match the others in the street. However, the gable has been retained to the right-hand side of the site. This has less of an impact than if the gable were on the opposite side, on both the large copper beech, which is TPO, and the amenity of the adjoining neighbour. The gable end remains adjacent to the taller host dwelling. The design of the new house reflects the style and details of the properties within the conservation area. These include the use of facing brickwork in Flemish bond, brick arch lintels above the openings, slide-hung traditional proportion casement windows, traditional chimney stacks and steeply pitched roof finished with plain clay tiles. 2 parking spaces are provided to accord with the Essex County Council's highways requirements. The resultant scheme provides a modest 3-bedroom house over 2 floors. It is considered that the scheme is acceptable to your officers and provides a suitable transition between the different heights of the 2 neighbouring properties. The new dwelling will positively enhance and preserve the character of the conservation area and the street scene. For all these reasons, I therefore ask that you follow your officer's recommendations and grant the plan approval for this project.
Thank you, Mr Abrams. Questions, members? Anybody? Councillor Guy?
Just the one. I'm only asking for confirmation because
No.
where else?
Spectacles?
Spectacles.
We took 2 pairs away with you. Yeah, the gentleman referred to the to set the house back to because it's would be better for his light. But if it sets it back, it breaks up building 9 because I know the area quite well. 1, 3, 5 and 7 are all the same building level. It's the number 9 which broke it. That's quite an old building as well. So from number 9, then it all drops back a bit. So I would wish to see it drop back. That's all. I'm asking for confirmation. You're saying that? Number 9 is where it starts to break down.
Yeah, it says in the report that that side of Watlington Road has quite a strong building line, but not so strong from number 9 onwards.
Any more questions? No? Debate? Councillor Guy?
Question. Just a short one. Yes. No, I think I'm a very traditionalist. I think the design of this is what I like. You know, it fits in with all the other houses. It is subservient to the main house, if you like. That's it needs to be. So I've got no reason to object to this.
Anybody else? No? Okay. If there's no more debate, we will move to the vote.
Could I just...
Oh, Councillor
I'm
Clark.
sorry.
Go on then. No.
Well,
Turn your microphone on, Councillor Clark.
I'm sorry. Well, I sure I follow the last comment. I am sympathetic to Mr. Bristow's wish to set the house back and delay basically his recommendations, that we're pragmatic and delay decision making. I'd just like to have an authoritative response as to why that's really not possible.
Well, so the substantial reason is that we might then be liable for non-determination if we was to postpone the decision passed tonight. Is that correct?
Yeah, Councillor. Well, we're duty bound to consider the application that's before us and the matters that have been raised. The main reason for deferring because of civil issues, not planning ones. So if Mr. Bristow wants to raise that with his applicant, with the developer, then he'd be able to do that. And if that means that another plan permission needs to be made in the future to accommodate that, then we would assess that at that time. But we're still duty bound to assess the application that's now in front of us.
Okay, that will make sense to everyone. Good. Are we ready to move to the vote, or is there any more debate? No? Okay. We can move to the vote then. All those in favour of the recommendations 1 to 10 and informatives, which appear on pages 12 to 14 of your agenda papers.